Hey, what's up, everybody? So, today we're going to have a talk about some minor miracles. And I call them minor miracles because I really don't know how else to explain them. So, these are two events that have happened recently in my life. And yeah, it's really cool. And I wanted to share. So, we'll start with my wife. A few months back, my wife started having a lot of pains, lower abdominal pains, and they were like stabbing through her right side, just sharp, intense pains, right? And she decided that she was going to go get checked out. So she went and, saw her OB, and they did an ultrasound, and they found a 4x4 millimeter mass on her right ovary. Didn't do a biopsy at that point in time. They just wanted to monitor it. And the next cycle came around, and my wife started having really, really, really intense pain. The stabbing pains on the right side was pretty intense. And then she was getting really, really strong cramping, like all the way around, just far, far worse than normal menstrual cramping. And me being me, I was like, yo, you want me to help out with that? I do something called a string technique, and it's a type of intuitive healing. And essentially it's just, pretending that I'm pulling a string out of someone. And this time I did something different. I wanted to use a crystal with the healing. And when I did that, I thought it was like white quartz, but it actually turned out to be danburite. And danburite is actually a type of crystal used in healing. So I guess my body just kind of knew, like, oh, go ahead and grab that. So I grabbed it off the counter, went back there and did my string technique. I had the danburite crystal in my left hand. Did a string with the right hand. It's always done with the right hand, by the way. And, I string the back of her first, and then I string the front. So, cause I wanted to get the cramping all the way around, just like a ring of just pain. Immediately after the string technique, my wife said that the pain had diminished. I was like, good. The next day, the pain was gone. The cramping was gone. And they both stayed gone the rest of the 4 days of her cycle. And I was like, that's awesome. Good. I'm glad it helped. Well, she ended up having another ultrasound. And about 2 weeks later, the results came in. And the doctors called my wife and told her the 4 millimeter mass is gone. We don't know where it went or what happened, but it's not there anymore, and we're going to continue monitoring. At that point, my wife was like, what did Rashid do? I was like, I know exactly what the fuck I did. I just healed you. You're welcome. So I had read a long time ago that intuitive healers, some of them can perform healings that are so complex and so strong that they are actual surgical situations. I'm trying to think of the word. My brain just froze up. But yeah, like they can perform like acts of actual surgery through intuitive healing. And yeah, something that would have more than likely had to be cut out, I made it disappear. So that's pretty cool. The second thing actually happened a couple of days ago. And I was driving down the road where I live, and a red squirrel, a large red squirrel, was running. And I saw it coming across the road. And I was like, I saw a car coming. I was like, oh no, don't do it. Oh! I was like, did it get hit? And as I'm driving past, I see it just flopping around on the ground. I'm like, He didn't make it. So I pulled over. I saw it. I don't want an animal to suffer, you know. And so I wanted to help. So I got out of my truck. I parked on the side of the road. I got out of my truck and I walked over. And as I'm walking over, I still see this squirrel just flailing away on the ground. And then it stops. I know that generally if an animal gets hit and it flails around and then it stops moving, it's curtains. You know, it's wraps for that animal. So I walked over to it and I'm looking at it. And it's still breathing. Still breathing. It's just laying there though. Breathing really hard. I'm like, hey buddy. Didn't make it, did you? It's like, well listen. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm going to try to help. And so I'm like, hey, be at peace, brother. And so I stand there and I, shake my hands out and get ready for what I know I'm about to try to do. And I start rubbing my hands together real fast, Mr. Miyagi style to get some warmth and some energy generated, focus to that area. And I start doing something that I call an energy bubble. And it looks really cool to me. Like it looks like I'm like conjuring something and stuff. And I do like all these really cool swirls. And I try to make this ball of energy in my hands. And I'm just like packing it in. And as I'm doing this, I can actually feel the heat on my hands from this ball of energy that I'm creating. And I've done this before. It's one of the things that I do. And, so I took this ball of energy and I'm like bending down and I'm looking at this squirrel. Okay. Cause you have to remember, this is still a wild fucking animal. So I'm looking at this squirrel and I'm like, hey, listen, be cool, man. Do not bite me. Okay. Don't bite me. I'm trying to help. And like, I had like touched its tail and everything. I'm like, I'm here for you, bro. And like, look, I'm like bending down, looking him in the eyes like, hey, be cool. All right. So I take this energy ball and I have my hands, still open, and I go and I drift it along the sides, up and down the body of this squirrel, my hands to the sides of it. And as I'm doing this, I look up and I see a truck coming, okay? Because I'm on the side of the road. I see a white F-150 coming up. And that truck started slowing down because I'm wearing all purple at that point in time, okay? Like I have, because I'm an LSU fan. And LSU colors is purple and gold. And I had an LSU hat on, an LSU shirt on, like LSU like sweatpants. Like I was decked out, okay? So they see this tall ass black dude in all purple looking like Barney on the side of the road, bending over, doing something. And as I'm going up and down this squirrel's body with this like energy ball, as I get towards his back legs and everything, it starts chirping at me. Okay. Now it had been chirping randomly throughout this thing, but when I was down by its back hips and everything, it started chirping like, hey, yeah, yo, what's going on right there? And so I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. And so I took that energy ball finally, and then I forced it down into the squirrel. Now, I want you to think about this. It is something that can't be seen, but when I forced that ball into it, I ended up touching the squirrel's body. I had to. It's one of those things. And I touched it. It chirped. And then I stood up. And I was like, hey, man. I hope that helps. And the damn squirrel got up and took off running into the fucking woods. Okay, listen. It was dragging its front paw, and it was all off to the side and everything. But that squirrel got up off that damn ground and took off running, and it ran into the woods. Okay. And when it ran, like, it got right to the tree line and it stopped, and it turned around and it looked at me. It chirped at me a couple of times like, "Hey, thanks, homie," and then dipped off. All right. And like, when this happens, okay, when this squirrel takes off running, I light up like the fucking 4th of July. Okay. Like, I just, like, holy shit, that just happened. Okay. And so I have this huge smile, and it's like just childhood wonder and amazement just pops up. And then I see the truck. Okay. And then I see the truck, like, holy shit, there's still a truck here. And they have damn near stopped moving. Okay. They are creeping up at like 3 miles an hour. And they saw me bending down. They saw me touching something. And then they saw a big ass squirrel run off into the woods. Okay. That's not normal. Let's just say that. And so they pull up to me, and the passenger is a female. She's like, "Were you just petting that squirrel?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "That's awesome." I was like, "Right?" And they just drove off. And I'm just like, I just did that. It wasn't dead. It wasn't dead. I didn't bring anything back from the dead. But he was going to the light. And I brought him back enough that he'd take off running and like, chunk up the deuces at me, So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in intuitive healing. I am a believer that the higher you raise your vibration, the better you are as a healer. And yeah, I think it's kind of right. So, yeah, for my people out there that are very strong empaths and intuitive healers and whatnot, keep working on yourself. Keep working on yourself. Keep doing that shadow work, because it works. It works, and it'll make you better. It'll make you better at the gifts that you were given. Be kind to yourselves.